Okay, hi everybody. It's Heather Rebecca Wilson, host of the Glamorous Global Entrepreneur, and today I am super excited to introduce our special guest for episode 3. It's Christine Miskinis, and she is the founder of Rocket Out Woman, and you are a women's empowerment coach, right? That guides and mentors women to connect with their inner voice, to express their authentic voice. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Heather.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to have this time together and to have this chance to introduce you to our community. So I guess what I'll do just to begin with is to have you kind of tell your story and how you actually became a coach and this glamorous entrepreneur that you are. So the floor is all yours, my friend.
Okay. All right. So peeling back the layers, I'll share with you my not so glamorous life. About 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, you're just not born glamorous, unfortunately. So I came into the world as a colicky baby. I had a lot of distress, digestive things happening. And what happened was they couldn't figure it out. I had a lot of tummy troubles. They thought that, I was just a nervous child after a while. And they would always ask me, are you okay? What are you worried about? And I was like, no, I'm not worried. I don't feel well. And I always loved food, but food did not agree with me. As I got older, it just got worse. And I found that I would end up running to the bathroom when we ate out with my family. And they'd always be like, Christine, what's going on? They'd ask me when I sat down, do you have to go to the bathroom? No. I'd take a few bites of the food and I'd be running off. And they were like, what's going on with her? I was the unknown big question mark. So at the age of 24, when I started, it was actually after 21, I started going out. I introduced alcohol into my system. Not that much. I didn't love alcohol, but it was even just the tiniest things, as you can imagine, that would throw my system out of alignment. I started having these stomach episodes. These episodes lasted from 12 to 16 hours where everything would just come up and out, and I would be so sick, I thought I was going to die. And the doctors just said, well, you have IBS and keep taking your acid pump inhibitors. And I'm like, this is not IBS. This is horrible. So they started doing more evasive testing and everything. And what they found was I had something called Barrett's disease or Barrett's esophagus. It's where your stomach lining starts to grow up into your esophagus to protect it from acid reflux. So years. Oh my goodness. Oh, I hear you really good now. So 24 years of this acid stuff happening. And then they finally figured out this is what it is. Now, anytime you have abnormal growth like that, it means that it can become cancer. And the way I was going, I wasn't looking good. So basically, I was sitting in the doctor's office that day and I said, okay, great. What's the next thing, doc? Who's going to help me? Who's going to save me? What's the next pill? What's the next procedure? And he was like, no, when it becomes cancer, we'll go in, we'll treat you for the cancer. And I was like, this is not okay with me, And so in that moment, I heard my inner voice say, go off and allow your body to heal. You will be fine. And I felt calm. I felt very collected in that moment. And that was not me up until that point. I was very much, always like, get it done, do it. I had big dreams and wanted to live this big life. And so I found this peace. And, Heather, in about 6 months, I went back and I had started this holistic lifestyle, healthy eating, healing my gut. I mean, just really simple things. For example, I didn't know Diet Coke was bad for you. When I talked to the nutritionist, so little things like that, So, when she said to me, do you realize what this is doing for your stomach, that you're very sensitive and now you're adding all these chemicals into your stomach? I'm like, but I'm drinking the diet one, isn't that the better version? And she's like, you shouldn't be drinking anything. So in 6 months, though, my body was healing, and I felt amazing. I went back to the doctors. I was like, let me share with you what I've been doing. I've been eating and juicing and, taking some supplements, probiotics, and I feel great. I have a lot of energy. I can eat other foods. I can eat the foods I never ate before. I'm taking some, I was taking digestive enzymes just to help me. And, in that process, I was able to seriously heal. And the doctors were amazed, but they didn't want to hear anything at that time, again, over 10 years ago. So basically, my doctor broke up with me. And he said, I can't treat you if you're not going to take your medicine. I can't treat you. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't need to be treated because I'm healing and I feel great.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story. Okay, well, so talk about how this like, spiritual awakening, it sounds like. How did this, like, what's the path from there to being this amazing women's empowerment coach?
Awesome. So from there, what I learned was that there were these things in society that we were being fed, we were being taught, we were being conformed to think and behave in a certain way. And so for me, this spiritual awakening, this awareness, this trust that your body could actually heal itself with like very simple things, getting back to basics was a huge eye opener. And it sent me on this path of freedom. I became so excited and turned on about being free to find the truth of things. So I would like turn on the television and I'd see all these commercials of and I'd be like, okay, BS to that and BS to that. And, and that's kind of how it went. I was like, give me a break. This is not true. Mm-hmm. And in that comes the power of knowing that you can trust yourself and knowing that you can pretty much accomplish anything that you desire.
Awesome.
So I started, now I was at the time I was working as a public school teacher, and I started I healed myself. So I felt great. And I always loved kids. I always loved teaching. I loved being in the front of the classroom. And then on the side, I would do acting, singing and things like that, and always loved that too. Mm-hmm. So I thought I had the best of both worlds. Now I thought that I couldn't make money doing what I, like a big passion or a talent. So I had to do something else I loved. I had to do both things as a woman. That was exhausting. And once I started to get in an alignment with my values and my beliefs, I started to say, I was so excited about what I learned. I just wanted to teach it. And who was I teaching? Not so much the kids about the health, but the mothers. Because what I found was when I started looking around the classrooms, Heather, I saw that the kids were very sick. They had ADD, ADHD, these behavioral, disorders, Asperger's. And my heart, I was like, and even if they didn't have that, they had some kind of a food intolerance or sensitivity or allergy. So it was like they'd come back from lunch and I'd be like, okay, everybody, let's sit down. We're going to do math. And they'd be like, and I'm like, what did you eat at lunch? And like, I had this, and then I had chocolate chip cookie, and then I had my pizza, my French fries, and then I grabbed a bag of Skittles and the machine. And I'm like, oh my God, because I had 5th and 6th graders. So I'm like, this is not good. So I started talking to the moms, and I said, the moms need support. So the moms heard about what I had done for my health. And so I started coaching the moms, and I'm like, okay, great. I can't actually help the kids in the way that I want to. It's hurting me to see our children like this. And what I want to do is I'm going to help the moms, and then they'll help the kids. I could teach the kids. But what happened was that I went back to school and I became an entrepreneur, and I studied nutrition, and I started out with health coaching, and I became mom's coach for life, because I was already there. I was already doing it. I was already sharing. I was doing all of this for free on the side, because I just wanted to help the moms. And then, so that was awesome and great and amazing. And then in that time frame, I had met the man of my dreams. I got married and I had a baby. I conceived a child. And then when I was having the baby and I stepped away from working as a teacher, I started to see, even in the birthing process, I know you're not a mom yet, right? You're not a mom?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
So there
I'm
was
an auntie.
You're an auntie. Well, yeah, we all have this motherly ability.
Yeah.
But it was in this in the birth and giving birth that I started to really feel like things were crazy. Just, I would go for these tests and exams, and it was like, oh, this level and that level, and I'm like, I see the baby's growing fine, I'm eating healthy, and like just everything felt like really controlled. And I didn't like how I felt. I really didn't like how I was treated so much. And I kind of just went with my own thing again of what I knew about healthy, and I prepared myself. So always getting education, ladies and gentlemen. If you're, if you're looking to fulfill something, get the education. Got the support. So got a health instructor, a health childbirth educator. So helped me. I wanted to have a natural birth. So now I already knew all these things. I didn't want to be part of the Western medical, system. If I didn't need to be, if I needed to be, that was fine. But I really wanted to avoid that. I wanted to go natural, especially knowing my own body. So it was in this that I started to see that women didn't have as much of a voice as I thought they should. Especially when it came to birthing babies. Like, it was like, I had a male doctor, and it was just like all the testing. Again, the way I was treated was very, you're carrying a baby, that, if everything's okay, like there's really no need for this kind of stuff. But anyway, what ended up happening was, I have stories about that too. So I was so empowered that I won't go into it, but I'll share these things because this will be interesting for the viewers. I have stories that I got so educated with the child birthing and the natural birthing that when I was going into labor, and I thought, my water had broke, I wasn't sure. And the doctor was like, he wouldn't even talk to me. His nurse was like, you have to get to the hospital right now. If you think your water broke, and I'm like, but I just want to go in to see him to be checked because I'm not in pain. So I'm not in labor. And I'm not going to go to the hospital if I'm not in labor, because once you do that, they try to move you along and they want you to get out of the hospital. And so they're going to induce me. I'm like, and this is all that I'm trying to avoid. So what ended up happening was they was really trying to put the pressure on me, and I ended up contacting my childbirth educator, and she's like, it doesn't sound like your water really broke. Why don't you try doing some natural stimulation to bring on your contractions? I did this in a few minutes. I tried it for a few minutes, and suddenly my water broke. I went into labor. I started having contractions, and I was able to go. But I was faced with so many adversities. Like when I got to the hospital, like I literally had the anesthesiologist laugh in my face because he was like, "Oh, I'm your anesthesiologist," and I'm like, "Oh, I won't need you. I'm gonna have a natural birth." And he laughed and he said, "Everyone that comes in here says that. And in the end, you're going to be screaming and crying that you're going to want this." And he's like, "And then I can't give it to you because it's going to be too late." And I said, "Thank you and goodbye." And so literally he came back to me after I birthed my baby, and he apologized to me. Here I am, a woman. So you could say that, what makes this glamorous global entrepreneur? It's the entrepreneurial spirit, but that that you are in control of your life. And that you can even design, Heather, you can design your life in a way that is in alignment with your particular values, your core values, your beliefs, your lifestyle. It is told even in a world where we meet the resistance as women, is what I feel. And it's nothing negative. It's just how we have evolved. And it's that now it's time to come into alignment, right? So that was just part of my whole spiel. But so I've done some empowering things like that. I started looking at my son and how he was learning. I kind of opted out for the public school education system. I was like, oh, I really want him to have more of this freedom as well. And so I found a school that was in alignment with that. And when I started coaching the moms, I started seeing that it was actually the full woman in her abilities, in her thinking, in her roles, in everything. The woman is the leader of the household. She's the one to create the traditions. She's the one to purchase the clothing. She's the one to clean the house and cook the meals. And like, she is like the full on leader as I see her to be. And then I said, it's not just about the food, because there was so many things happening with the women about their relationships, about their self-image, about love. And so I went back to my education and I got another degree as a transformational coach. And I started just working with women and empowering them to express themselves, share their voices, have this inner knowing and the confidence to create their lives as they choose. And this is where the glamour comes in.
I couldn't agree more. That's really how I define glamorous, right? It's a woman who is like in her power and she knows who she is and she knows that she has the power to create whatever life that she wants to have. So that is so powerful. That's awesome. All right, so I have like lots of questions for you. So my first, thank you for sharing that story, and I know that there's more to it. I mean, clearly there's more to it. What I want to ask you, so how many kids do you have actually?
I have 2 right now. I think we're good.
Yeah, how old are they?
7 and 3.
Okay, all right. So, I'm 38, and I think there are women who, friends of mine and women who are even younger who I think have this idea that like if I become successful in business or if I become successful at all, I'm not going to be able to have a happy relationship or I'm not going to be able to have a family, right? I'm going to have to choose. It's either or. So what would you say to that woman who says, I can't have all these things? Because you've got it going on.
No, I got it going on. But I'm gonna own it, and I'm gonna be transparent in the way that I'm gonna tell you. It's not effortless. It is well crafted. It is well designed. As I've said, it is deeply rooted in my core of what I believe, and that is what fuels me. And ladies, you need support. That's the number one thing that I will say. And honestly, Heather, here's the thing. As women, especially as mothers, especially, if we get older, like if we're not popping out babies at 16 and 20 anymore, right? So as we get older, we get more set in our ways and we get used to doing things a certain way or having the control over things. And that prohibits us from having the success that we desire. And this is a huge thing. This is huge for women because it took me, I was making great money and I was still cleaning my house, and I have a big house that my husband built us. I mean, I would take a whole weekend to clean the house top to bottom every week. And I was still making all the meals and and I'm like, this is not glamorous. You know what? I became an entrepreneur. and I was breastfeeding the baby while on the phone coaching. I mean, it was my God. Because we become accustomed to doing this until somebody, my coach said to me, girlfriend, you got to delegate. And I'm like, what? I can't delegate. Like, what can I delegate? Right? I'm a mother. I'm a wife. Like, these are my responsibilities. I can't delegate them to somebody else. But I learned how. And I learned how to do it again in the way that met my own needs. So instead of like, my husband was like, do we get a nanny? And I was like, I don't really want that. Like, I don't want somebody living with us and I don't want somebody here. And I have, I've set up this coaching to be less where I'm all in it all the time. So I get to go on social media. I get to go out. I get, I'm not attached to everything. And I just didn't want that. So, but I found other ways. So if you're starting, like I started with having somebody at 37, the first time in my life, or 36, the first time in my life that I ever had somebody else clean my house. And they started it with every 2 weeks. Yeah, that I had and it wasn't just somebody else. They needed 4 people to clean my house in 3 or 4 hours. Remember I told you I was taking the whole weekend? That's how many people they needed. And so they would come in, but it was a couple $100 and the house was clean. Like, I wasn't killing myself. When the kids dropped the food on the floor, I wasn't like, I just washed. I didn't care because I'm like, And if there's moms listening, you know what I'm talking about. And it's hard. But it's letting go of that control, and it's finding ways. So instead of getting the nanny, what I did was I had a mommy's helper come in and sit and play with my child while I was on while I was in my office. She was still in the house with me. She was still being taken care of. She was a baby. I was still home, and I could shift. And you know what it reminded me of? I'm actually thinking of it now. When I was watching Beyonce, after she had her baby, she would be she would leave her recording studio, which was also in her home. She would leave the studio and go and breastfeed her baby, and then she'd go back to the record and do whatever. So it's like, my mentor taught me that this glamorous lifestyle is not just for celebrities. You can, even as a mother, create the space for you to do what you're really good at, to be paid really well, so that you can then have the life that you want to have, which is more freedom and definitely more glamorous.
I love it. I love that story. Well, so why do you think women have such a difficult time letting go of control, right? Like micromanaging things. What do you think that's all about in your experience?
Well, I know for me, what I see is that we are pulled in a lot of different directions. And in that, we feel like we have to be the ones, because we are a little bit scattered. So it's like a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of, it's like, well, who am I going to give something over to? Right. And that's the first thing. The first thing is letting go of the control and knowing that you don't need to be the only one holding your baby all day long or doing something, and I think that, it's the martyr syndrome a little bit. We could talk about it like that, but I like to talk about it in a more positive perspective, that I wanted to have this attachment parenting. I wanted to have this very natural, evolutionary, relationship, and that I still have with my kids today. I'm a very hands-on. I just wanted that type of thing. And what I came to know was that, just having a little bit of support created more mental space for me, even if I stayed in the house. So what is this whole thing with control? It's really just a mindset. It's a mindset and it's an upbringing. I will say that too, because, even when I flew to Paris and everything by myself last year, my mom was like, you're just going to Paris by your husband's not going with you. You're leaving your babies. And this is what we've grown up. She never had that ability to do something she didn't understand. And I wasn't raised to be like that. I was raised that women stay home and take care of the babies until they're older. And then you return to the workforce, or if you work part-time, whatever. But it was so I had to break through all those limitations that were just put upon me from also society has a lot of this stuff. We have women are lots of in competition with other women of, oh, look at her. She's got it all. She's got it. Ladies, when you get into the hearts and minds of the women and you peek like I get to do into their lives, you see it's not all roses. We all have stuff. And so I love the title is glamorous. Yeah, but to be glamorous, you have to go through a lot of crap, and you have to clear a lot of your own stuff.
Totally. Yes, absolutely. I like that you mentioned your mom, because I think part of what's difficult about the entrepreneurial journey, and I think this is across the board, but it's your relationships actually change a lot. And it's with friends, family, even with our, spouses or our boyfriends. So can you speak a little about that? How have your relationships shifted? Have you had any sort of relationship challenges as you've built your business and become very successful?
Yes. I would say, I had a story of healing. So I had something to anchor into, which a lot of people don't. So for example, even when I started off with my healthy eating and I only ate organic and I was juicing, they would make fun of me. They'd be like, oh, you can't give Christine's kid, whatever, McDonald's, or don't give him a juice bar. And they would make fun of me, but I was always like, hello, do you know what was happening? Oh, that's right. So they had respect for that. Now, if you don't have like a story like that or something, I could definitely see it being difficult, because even that, in that perspective, you know. And so that was one thing, and that was the food thing, but they had to respect it because I had healed in that way. And so with the more of the business structures, I'll say that people are like, you know, well, what is it that you do? Like, you help women like plan out their lives and create like a lifestyle and work with them through their emotional things and know themselves like at a deeper level. Like, can't they just do that on their own? Why do they pay you to go? And I'm like, right. So it's like, I have separated from some, you know, social circles and things like that, and some friends who are no longer my friends. I've had people come up against me and say, oh, you make it like it's so easy to make money by yourself, but you know, you have a husband and you're this and I'm a single mom. And like, so I've had a lot of like resistance, and you have to be ready for that. You have to have the authenticity to speak your truth, so that when you're met with resistance and judgment, there is no shame or guilt or blame or anything. It just melts away. So I have stood there in the place. If you're in this place now and you're watching this show, I've stood there and literally said to that woman, you don't have to take my word for it. Let me introduce you to my mentors and my previous coaches. And I've tagged them, this one, this one, this one. And you could see how they're doing it as well. You don't have to believe me, because it always hurts when it comes from our inner circle. And I removed myself. And I've had people say like, oh, I'm sorry. I've had people say on Facebook to me, oh, I apologize. I didn't realize, I didn't mean to come across like that. When we each hold each other to our truth as women, miraculous things happen, because women, we're all innately good. All human beings are innately good. We have this within us. Right. And so if you're met with any of this, which you will be as an entrepreneur, you sure will be. And you should be. You should be. You're not out there to be anybody's friend. In fact, if you need help, don't go to a friend. They're not going to help you. That's not the person to help you.
Right.
It's not.
No, you're right.
You can't be a friend of your client and your people. Your people need to respect you. You've created what you've created. You have something to share, and you need to let go of that attachment to be liked and accepted. And you just got to be really good at doing your thing. And when you're really good at doing your thing, people, guess what, will like and accept you for that. It's an ass backwards kind of thing, but that's how it works. We think we're like, oh no, don't do that. And we end up messing it up by being in the head, versus be authentic, be strong, be in your power. And you'll see people sit back and give you a nod, or they'll lean in and be like, how do I get to work with you?
Well, that's so interesting that you've actually had people come back into your life after they judged you a little bit and apologized. Like, did you think that was going to happen when there was a breakdown? Or were you, I mean, like, was that a big surprise? I mean, how did that go?
Yeah. So actually it happened with people who were no longer in my life. So it happened with this one girl I was friends with for years. And we kind of separated as, you know, we got married, we went off on our own. And then she was just following me on Facebook. And so she had seen me on Facebook, and then we went back and forth with this writing. And I was explaining to her, all excited, listen, this is what you can do. And she was like, I don't appreciate you. And she kind of like really threw it on me. And, you know, and this was only like in 2 days time, really. And I felt all that. Right. And now we know when we coach, when we've done this work, we know what it is when it shows up. And I'm like, what do I do with all this stuff? Right. So I just showered her with love. I said, I understand. I see you. I get where you're at. You know, and she went into a whole story about her pain, and basically that's where she was speaking from. So I just met that. I met that with truth and understanding and compassion, and not taking things so personally all the time, because even when they're projected at us, like, who do you think you are? You have to look at that, ladies. Like, we're so beyond that. We're so much more enlightened. We're having conversations about consciousness, enlightenment, meditation, higher self, you know, we're beyond that. So when someone comes at you with all that shadowy stuff, let it go. Like, give it love, give it attention. So I leaned in. I was like, I understand. I know that you're in pain, and I know all of this. And you know what? It's okay. And you don't have to take my word for it. I'm not going back on what I shared. You can make money being an entrepreneur. You can create a bit, like you can do all these things. And I'm going to show you other people. If you want to take a look at them, these are women you should know. And in that, it was like the next day she wrote back. She must have looked into it. Whatever she did, she needed to do for herself. She was like, I apologize. I really feel that I shouldn't have done that. And that's what I mean. That's a big lesson for us to learn as women, because that's the biggest thing that we fear. We fear that more than anything. Who does she think she is? And you know what, ladies? Just don't keep company with it. I'm at a space in my life, I don't know if it's age or wisdom or both, but I'm like, I just don't have time for it. And I love you, sister, but this is the truth. And if you don't want to drink the Kool-Aid, go somewhere else. Like, it doesn't matter to me. This is just what this, I'm not going to try to change you. I don't ever try to change anybody. It has to be in your own scope that you desire to do it. So I'm not here preaching. I'm just speaking about what it is that has worked for me. And I want to share and teach and mentor and coach the women who know that that's right for them and they're ready for that. And anyone else, I respect you just the same. And you're on a beautiful journey and it's here for you if you want. If not, there's so much out there that you can take and use. So that's basically the mindset that you come from as a woman. And, I still have these conversations with friends. I'm not as close with some of the friends as I was because they're not there and they don't want to hear it, and you hear the stuff from the celebrities and their family, and you get it and it's cool. It's all cool. You still love each other and you do what you can.
Any advice for the aspiring entrepreneur or the woman who already is working in her business and she's experiencing this, right? She's in the middle of this transition from the old tribe, to I need a new tribe. Like, what advice do you give that person? Like, how do you create your own new personal tribe that's like a vibrational match to where you are? Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Beautiful. Yep. This is also something that I do with my clients, because I believe that that's twofold. I believe that you need something. First of all, we spend so much time on these computers with these screens and these things. So you need a virtual community. You have to plug in to a community of like-minded, and I don't call them like-minded. I actually call them life-minded women who have, they have the same lifestyles, the same values, because they speak your language. So when you start talking, they're going to get you. They understand you. They're going to support you, and that's the first thing. Mentorship is amazing. If you can open yourself up to some level of mentorship with someone who resonates with you. There's so many coaches out there today. It's fabulous. You can just have someone, because here's the thing that I want to say. With my clients, it's such intimate stuff that comes up that I don't even think they would share this with like someone who like knew their husband or spouses so closely, right? It's almost like, and in the same respect, they wouldn't go necessarily to therapy for it because they don't need therapy. It's like, so they're in this like tight space where they're like, like the friend in the community is almost not enough for the emotional stuff that comes up. So get yourself a coach that can help you create the lifestyle and deal with the emotional pieces and develop a level of self-mastery within yourself. So you no longer need the coach, but go online, plug into a community, find people that not only share your interest in your business interests, but your interest in other areas. So for example, I belong to like La Leche League, which is breastfeeding mothers, holistic moms network, integrative nutrition practitioners, spiritual mentors, energy workers. I mean, I have all these different communities online and in person, but at different levels. So definitely get that online. And now in person, get into the community. There are meetups, there are groups, or if you're online and you happen to have, availability to access these people or to travel with them or to travel to meet them, then that's what you do. So, that's just networking. And in my networking, I've had people come stay in my home. I've gone and visited people in their houses that I've met online, that I've been in connection with. It's amazing how connected you can be to people that you haven't even been in physical company with that much or possibly ever. So, you know, and if you're older and you haven't like been like, you know, I didn't have the internet until college. So, I mean, you know, I mean, but listen, I'm still able to foster these relationships, and it's life-changing. So you need it in person. You need it in your neighborhood as well. And that's about finding your people. So that's another great way of networking. So this is the last thing I want to say about that. Practitioners that you use, monetize everything that you do. So for example, I was in, you know, teaching. So I have the teaching networks and I have that whole system. Then I did integrative nutrition. Then I have all those people in that system. Then I started doing coaching, then I have all that system. Then I became a mom. Then I developed into that system. And I have all of these different people. So like I've gone for chiropractic, I've gone for Reiki, I've gone for, you know, and all these people expand my tribe, and I get to talking to them, and I get to networking with them, and I get to, hey, you want to go have coffee? And this is how you kind of grow your community that we don't learn to do that as much today, is really creating the in-person connections. And that's really what we thrive off of.
Absolutely. Okay, so my next question, thank you for sharing all that. I think that's really great advice. My next question for you is about, well, okay, your spirituality. Like, how does spirituality play a role in your life and business? And does it play any role?
Spirituality plays the biggest role in my business, because I have this connection that tells me what I need to be doing, who I need to be, what I need to offer the world, what I have to offer the world. And this is the connection to God, to source, to the universe, you know, infinite intelligence. This is what it is. And you don't have this connection with anybody else. You don't have the connection you have with yourself is like one you don't have with anybody else. I have it right over here in my, what does it say? I thought I had it right here. No. Anyway, it's something about like knowing yourself intimacy starts with a relationship with yourself, an understanding of who you are. And I mean, if you want to look, you know, Oprah Winfrey, all the biggest thought leaders, they know this. They know that if you don't have this connection, you're flat. You're like one-dimensional. And, you know, people want to know what's the wow factor. That's about knowing yourself so deeply. It's about knowing your greatest desires. It's about knowing, you know, what it is that you really want to call into your life. I mean, I've been doing that, being connected for my whole life. Okay. I have always been like, and I didn't know how to explain it. I can't put words to it really. It's just like, I had this thing. I wanted to be like Dr. Oz, blah, blah, blah. I started journaling. I started connecting. I do my morning meditations. Suddenly I'm on Dr. Oz, not once, twice, a month apart. And people are like, how did that happen? How did you could say it was magic. You could say it was mystery. It was a miracle. And that's just how it works. I don't, you know, and that's how I teach my clients too, is I support them in learning to tune in. And that's my whole tagline, tune in. Rock it out, because I can't look at you right now, Heather, and be like, oh yeah, Heather, you need to go and do blah, 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 blah. And then when you're there, you're going to do da, 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 and follow this system, and you're going to have this many clients. That stuff only takes you so far. The people that make the big leaps and bounds are the people who take it in, connect to who they truly are, connect to their power, to the divine, and create and express that fully. Those are the people that are the freaking rock stars. And you're like, whoa, you know, that's what makes them the rock star. It's like, I always equate it to the singers. I mean, you look at Beyonce, when she's on that stage, she's in her power, she's doing her thing, she's rocking it out. That level of energy is available to each of us. We don't need to sit in the corporate job and suffer. We don't need to sit at home with the kids and suffer. I mean, this is not the age that we live in anymore. We do not need to be doing this. If you do not enjoy cleaning your home or you do not have time for it, let it go. And do something that makes your heart sing, that you're brilliant at, or put your attention and time somewhere else. And you will see it come back to you in different ways. Most of the time, money, prosperity, contacts, networks, but your life will be enhanced for it. So spirituality is one of the biggest things that I think people are starting to catch on to. They're not sure exactly how to channel it, and they don't believe that they have it within themselves to be connected in such a way. And I'm going to say that each of us has this divine energy living inside of us. It's this feeling of passion. It's this feeling of excitement. It's where we get all our juicy nuggets from, and that's your sweet spot. That's the spot you want to tap into and let everything go from there.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, so spirituality is huge for you, as it is for me. Tell me a little bit about your spiritual practice. Like, do you have a daily practice? How do you set yourself up in the morning? Like, talk to me about what your day looks like and what you do to really support having this very strong connection to your intuition and your higher self. Like, what does that look like for you?
Beautiful. Yeah. I just shared this on Rocket Out Radio. I just talked about this today. So it wants to be shared. It wants to be shared. I don't know. Yeah. So I wake up in the morning, and because I have the small kids, and if you're a mom, you know how this goes, but I wake up in the morning, and right as my eyes are beginning to open, either I'll tell the kids, I'll be right with you, give mommy 5-10 minutes, whatever I need to do. I kind of close my eyes again and I recollect myself. And I think about, I have very vivid dreams. So I often sit there and I will just think about my dreams, think about things that came to me in the night, feel how I'm feeling, think about what I desire to bring into my day. It's very quick. It's like really being thankful, just opening your eyes and knowing, taking a breath before like just hopping out of bed, right? And I'll sit there for a few minutes. Now, many times, because I do have these vivid things, and you can too, you will develop, like, I didn't always wake up like this. I was the one who, hit the alarm 5 million times. So that was me, but you can do this too. So I get up, I keep a book by my bedside, and I'll just sit there and I'll write in my journal. I'll write any inspiration, any thoughts, anything that wants to come out, or just dump. If it's negative stuff, hey, that's cool too. Get it out. If there's bills that need to be paid and things, let it come out. Let it come out naturally. Dump it all out. Get it out. And then I come downstairs, and what I'll do is I'll sit with my kids. I get them set up for breakfast in the kitchen. I get them all set up, and then I take myself and my tea or water or juice, and I go into the living room. I sit on the carpet, and I do a getting here meditation. Now, I was never really good at like meditating and being really quiet. So my meditation is a mix of energy work and meditating. And so I sit quietly and I imagine the divine light coming, rinsing through me all the way down and out through my feet into the earth to be recycled. And I run this energy through me to fuel me and revitalize me as I begin my day. And I step into the space right behind my eyes, and I meet with my higher self, and I ask really good questions. Whatever's up for me, how can I serve one more person today? What's the most joyful way that I can receive a client? How can I give back? What's the message that I'm meant to share today on social media, for whatever. And when I sit there, I'll see either shadows or things, and I'll start talking about it. Okay, so I see a heart. So this is love. Is this self-love? Is this, and I'll just ask questions, and then I could either see something or feel something, and so that's pretty much how I get the messages. I get the inspiration before I sit down, before I do a newsletter or anything like that. I make sure I'm completely in alignment. So this is separate from doing your meditation. But every morning, this is exactly what I do. I sit there, and my kids know, do not interrupt me. It's going to be 5 or 10 minutes. When I come out of it, either I'll journal or I'll have like this brilliant idea, and sometimes I want to let the listeners know also, sometimes it doesn't happen right away. Sometimes it doesn't happen during my meditation. Yesterday, it happened after I went exercising, and then I was in the shower, and I started getting this massive download of ideas just popping into my head. And I mean, how cool is that? It's like the coolest thing, because I'm like, and here I am, like, it never makes sense, because it just comes to you, and you're it's like, what? And you don't even, but it's like, you like it, but you're like, I don't get it. And I had this whole thing about music and blah, and I was like, really? And I'm just listening. And that's how you kind of get your inspiration and your inspired action. And you're still going to do all that other stuff that you need to do, that are structural pieces, the VA to contact, and all. You still got to do that stuff too. But this is the stuff that helps you do the other stuff with more ease and joy. And what I like to say, Heather, is for me, I am a very emotional person. I've always been very emotional. My own emotion, right? I always thought, whoa, I'm Italian, I'm Spanish. That's why I'm so feisty. I'm whatever you want to say. But my emotions have my emotion is connected to my intuition, and my intuition has never steered me wrong. Anytime I felt something and I'm like, I got to do it, and I do it, it's always, I've never been like, oh, I should have done that. Never. When I work from this headspace, there's plenty of things. I'm like, why did I do that? Because I thought, I was thinking, no, good, no good. And so my emotions are really, I'm in tune with them. And for me, the thing about, being an entrepreneur is it's got to feel good. It's got to light me up. I came from a space where I was just like, I'm doing the coaching, I'm doing the programs, I'm involved with a coach, we're learning all these things and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? I just want to have fun. I want to get all these women together. I want to do like an event. I want to dance. I want to sing. I want the sisterhood. I want us to laugh. I want us to cry. I want us to support, blah, blah. And in 2 months, I pulled together an amazing retreat, New York City, so much fun. It's just like, people are like, how did you do that? Did you plan up? And I'm like, I made a few phone calls. I got some stuff together. I invited the women, and I created like what I do with myself, and I asked them, and I checked in with them, and I created some rituals and mindset stuff and celebratory things. And we had like a blast. And I made great money in a weekend. And I was like, who would think? Who would think you could do that? Who would think that you could just do something? If I sat down and I tried to work it, it just wouldn't have worked. Just wouldn't have worked the same
way. Okay, so we have a few minutes left, but I have like a few more questions while I've got you.
Yeah.
So do you have any like women in your life that you really look up to? Like, who are your role models? Like, who inspires you? Are there like 3 people? Like, tell us who you look up to.
Well, I love my mentors. So there are a couple of women who, I have followed and I have worked closely with. So I would say Jody England, Gina DeViti, Shanda Sumter. These are just women who are like in my closer networks who, like I said, I've worked with, and I really appreciate their level of expertise, like how they fine tune their own brilliance, and being in their programs with them, I've really gotten to feel the effects of that. And the bigger scale, that's what I'm always looking at, like Maria Shriver. I'm looking at the women who are like politically out there with their voices, even down to Jenny McCarthy. I mean, she followed me the other day on Twitter. I'm like, yes, baby, I love you. And so nice. It's like, I know. And I'm like, I adore the women who are like truly, Ivanka Trump, like they're out there, they have this life, they have something to say, and they're really interested in making a difference. And to me, that matters so much. I don't want to just hear that you made this much money, that you did that. What are you doing with your money? Because I give back, I work in my community, I do talks, and sometimes I just give things for free. I do my radio show for free. I mean, I do this stuff because it really matters to me. It matters that we are not just in a business for ourselves, that we're actually in a business in a way that's going to impact the world, that's going to make some kind of a change, some kind of a difference. So that to me means everything. And yeah, so when I look at the women, those are the women that I follow. Marianne Williamson. I mean, I'm following these women. I'm like, okay, what are you doing? What are you up to? What are you talking about? Where are you now? Even Holly Thompson. I mean, she just got herself now into Senate and doing these things and talking about health. All of this stuff matters, and really matters for women because we haven't had the voices out there. You know, like you can say, oh, it's feminist and it's this and it's that, but where are the women? Where are the big leaders that are women today? We can't just say Hillary Clinton because that's not going to do it for me. I want to see women out there really speaking, sharing their truth. And, you know, even the things like that I've overcome, it's like when somebody hears my story and they're like, really, you did that? You were able to heal yourself from pre-cancer? And knowing this, and then knowing that I didn't kill myself doing it, that I didn't go on some crazy diet, that I didn't blah, blah, blah. It did require me to change my life. It did require me to change my thinking. It did require me to create new habits, you know, and it required me to get support. And once I was willing to do all of these things, I learned a whole new way of being, which is so much more glamorous and global. You know, as an entrepreneur, you have this reach and this ability to impact the world via the internet as we're sitting here today. I mean, so those are the women that I'm watching. That's what matters to me. And that's who I am. I am here to, some people will say that, you know, when I post things on Facebook, they're like, that doesn't really matter. And, you know, you shouldn't be sharing all that stuff. I'm like, that's why I get out of bed. And I'm like, I'm excited to do this work. If I don't have this, if you don't have a bigger why, a bigger vision, all right, maybe I'm being naive to think that one voice could change things. But that's what I choose to believe. And as I work with women, I believe each of their voices and I see them. This is the other thing, Heather, when they have come to me and they haven't spoken, they haven't gone out there, they haven't gotten out there with the messages, and then they're ending up on the newspaper, you know, they're ending up on their local television, or they're in their communities hosting things, or they're hosting events in their homes and having the community come. I am like, this is what it's about. This is how we support each other, and we keep cycling the prosperity, the wealth, the knowledge. We recycle it through us, and that's really where it's at.
Awesome. Well, so your title, right, is Women's Entrepreneurship Coach, or Women's Empowerment Coach, right? And you coach women to connect with their inner voice, to better express their authentic voice. So, like, what are 3 tips that you could give somebody who is just starting out in this process and really wants to use her voice, right? She wants to make an impact. So what are like 3 kind of like intro steps, like easy things that you can do to get going?
Well, first you need to list out what it is that you take a stand for. You need to know your top things that, and then this is the other thing I'm going to say, the things that are around you that really piss you off, that really make you mad, that's a good indication of what you're probably meant to be working on. Okay, so remember my story, like I was upset, like, oh my gosh, think of your experiences. Think of things that are personal to you. Think of challenges you've walked through in your own life. It all comes back to your own story. Your voice is part of your story. It's part of your expression. So we all have stories and different perceptions and different things we focus on. For me, it was this voice. It was seeing in society. Where's the women? Where's the woman's voice? Isn't a woman going to stand up, take a stand for this? And so I created that for myself. So that's the first thing you need to do, is you need to know what you stand for. This is the fuel to your fire, and this is the fuel to keeping your fire inside of you burning. That's the first thing. The second thing would be come up with some really good phrases around each topic, which is almost like your tagline. What are your taglines? If you have one for your business, like, is it juicy enough? Is it good enough? Do people understand what it means? It's really it is also what you take a stand for. And it's vocalizing it. It's that first step of vocalizing it. The third thing I would say is definitely to spend time tuning in and to notice where, as a woman, you feel that you don't go and express your voice. So what has it been that's been holding you back? Where are the pieces? Is it in doing a video? Is it in doing, you know, a Periscope? Is it in you really want to go on stage, but you haven't done that yet? Where are you pulling back? And that's an indication of your next place to go. That's how you break through your comfort zone and you get there. So in this thinking, I just did this with a client today. She was talking about doing sales, and she was like, I'll get all these names and people are interested in my work, and I'll say, oh, I'm going to call you, and then I'll go to call them, and I don't call them. I have to do this now. I have to do that. And we got to down to the root about what is it about, and you could do this yourself. What is it about that thing that you keep saying you want to do, go on stage, do a blab, whatever it is. What is it about that that you're resisting? And so she was resisting being pushy, because now you can go there and then you get under that. Why? Why is that? What does that bring up for you? This is the spirituality stuff. This is it. What does this bring up for me? Why do I feel like women and the voice and the power and all of this? Because you know what? I remember as a child, having some pretty crazy events where I felt silenced, where I felt I didn't have a voice. I had a traumatic experience, where I was, and so but you know what? It's not to look back at that time and go, oh, like therapy. No, it's to look back at that time and detach it from yourself as the story it is, remove it and say, oh, isn't this interesting? So just like I was on the boat that day fighting and screaming, and I felt like nobody could hear me, right? Now look at how I'm here. And when I'm doing my business, this is coming through, because how you do one thing is how you do everything, Heather, and it plays through. So get into the layers of the voice of what it really is and where it has been, where you've been holding back. So for this woman, her hesitation, she didn't want to be pushy. Why? Because her mother was pushy. Her mother was controlling. She has a really poor relationship with her mother. You don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear the mother story. Okay, I get that. But when we worked on it today, she was like, this is what. So I said, honey, you just got to rework it now. You got to go inward. This is where you connect to divine, and you are not that story. And that being sales, making sales is helping people. Like, this is where you clear all that stuff and you rise up to be the woman, to show up, to speak up, to rock it out in her life.
All right, girlfriend. That's amazing. This is a wonderful way to wrap this up. So if people want to learn more about you, where should they go?
All right. So if you want to stay in touch with me, go to www.rockitoutwoman.com. There is a music and meditation in there. That's a free gift for you. So you can just scroll down my site and you'll see it there. If you're interested in working together or possibly seeing if we're a fit, if you are a woman entrepreneur, if you're a mompreneur, you're looking for the lifestyle, the emotional pieces, right, are like the things that are holding you up. And maybe it is the relationships. Maybe you're seeing things that are not supportive in your life. Just know that you're responsible for everything. You're responsible for everything in your life. Yes, even suffering is a choice. Even suffering is a choice. Even staying broke is a choice. It hurts to hear it, but it is true. And somebody needs to tell it to you. So if you want that somebody to be me, I will hold your hand. I will walk you through it. I will take you to the depths of your soul. And sisters, once you get there, there's no turning back. You will not turn back. You will only rise from that space. So it's Christine, Christine, at rockitoutwoman.com. You can email me personally, either myself or my VA, Marsha, my assistant. She's my personal assistant. She'll get back to you. So I look forward. You can also find me on Facebook, Christine Miskinis. It's Miskinis, like right there in the thing. And I look forward to speaking to you.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for being my special guest today. I just really appreciate you so much. And I want to acknowledge you for being like this powerful feminine leader, having this amazing voice, and really encouraging and supporting women in finding their own voice. And I really want to acknowledge you for like your honesty. Like, you're just telling it how it is. And I think it's great. And it's very refreshing. And any woman who signs up to work with you is going to have like the ride of her life. So thank you so much for doing this. I don't know if you want to, maybe you want to type in like a link in the chat box here. Type that in there.
Yes, I got it.
So for, thank you to all my viewers. There's nobody in here who wants to get into the hot seat, but that's fine. This is going to be on YouTube, and we're going to share it on social media. And so, the distinguishing feature of a glamorous global entrepreneur, you all, is a sizzling money mindset. So if you are in need of a money mindset makeover, I invite you to sign up for my money mindset makeover video challenge. And I put the link right there in the chat box. But yeah, we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you so much, Christine. This was an amazing interview. Very, very juicy. Lots of nuggets. And just thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you, love. Right. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.